Hey, beautiful soul. Welcome back to the Abundance Club. I'm really excited that you are here today, that you have clicked on this episode. You're going to love this conversation. There are some conversations that I have on the podcast that actually feel more like a really resonant, juicy conversation with a like-spirited soul sister rather than an interview. And today's conversation is definitely one of those. I have Lisa Moore in the Abundance Club, and what a gift it is to have her energy and her really divine presence. Lisa is a sovereign frequency architect. I mean, how cool does that sound? And the founder of House of Soul Sovereignty. Her work is centered around helping people collapse the gap between who they truly are and how they're currently embodying and fully expressing their soul truth into the world. What I really love about this conversation is this shared resonance that exists between Lisa and my work. We both believe that so much of what we are seeking isn't actually about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who we truly are beneath the conditioning, the stories, the identities, and the distortions that we've picked up along the way. And we talk about how to clear that. This conversation, we go nice and deep, which is what I love. We explore what sovereign frequency actually is, the distortions that can pull us away from our soul truth, and why so many people are finding themselves in that in-between void space where they know who they're becoming, but they haven't quite anchored it yet, and what it means to move through these seasons of expansion, contraction, and transformation. We also speak about visibility, soul expression, and the fear of fully being seen, collective awakening, and the invitation so many of us are feeling right now to trust ourselves more deeply than we have ever before. This conversation feels like sitting down with a friend who sees the world through a similar lens. And for that, it's one that I really loved and I'm really happy to share with you all. So if you guys have been navigating your own awakening and you feel like there's that call towards a deeper expression of who you truly are, like you know you want to live that, but there's still these things and these threads and these tethers that are holding you back, or if you found yourself standing in that void space between who you've been and who you're here to be, I think you're going to receive a lot from this conversation. One of the things that Lisa asked me before we hit record was what my human design was and what my astrology was. I said to her, I am a projector, a 1-3 mental projector for anyone that's in human design. And I thought that it would be really fun, if you know what yours is, to pop it in the comments. I would love to know what your human design is. So what your profile is. If you are watching this on Spotify, you can pop it in the comments, or if you're on YouTube, pop it in the comments, or otherwise shoot me through a DM on Instagram. I would love to know. And if you enjoy this conversation, if it resonates, please share it with someone that you appreciate and love and feel could derive some benefit from this. Make sure also you are following along to the podcast on your chosen platform. I'm going to bring more conversations like this that just meet you where you are and help you to return home to your true essence. That is what we are here for. I'm Amy Wilkinson. Thank you. I love you. Without further ado, let's dive in. Beautiful Lisa, welcome to the Abundance Club. Thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited about this conversation. I know it's going to be juicy.
It's going to be juicy. Lisa and I have been chatting offline. And I'm like, we have to just actually press record because we're going to be having this conversation online. And this often happens. I'm like, hang on, we've got to press record and dive in. This is juicy stuff that we want to share. We were talking about our human design profile and astrology and all of those good things. But where I would love to start, Lisa, you started to share a little bit about your journey, which I think is really interesting, and how you came into this work. You said it was about 6 years ago. So do you want to start there and share a little bit about that before we go in any further?
Yeah, definitely. So it actually started at school. So I got the School Award for Art, but I also was the top of my year for, well, second actually. But anyway, to my friend Abby in maths. So it was like, okay, what do I do? Do I follow my soul and study arts, or do I follow logic and go down the maths route? And at the time, my wounded masculine completely won out and was like, look, just go all in on science, because when you get that piece of paper as a woman to prove that you are clever on paper. So I went to university and I did maths, and I just left the art world behind. And my parents could never understand, because they're both entrepreneurs, very creative, entrepreneurs. So they couldn't understand it. They were like, where does she get this logic from? And also, why is she interested? And to be fair, I never was, but it was just something that
Mm.
I felt like was going to prove my worth in the world. So I ended up going into the corporate world, so investment banking and law firms, working in the IT departments, and I was writing requirements for systems. And why that's relevant is because later on, that's actually kind of the mechanism of some of the work that I've been developing over the last 6 years. So I'll come back to that. But at the end of 2013, the beginning of 2014, I've been looking for my escape route because I knew it was never what I really wanted to do. I knew that there was something more creative coming through me, and I didn't know what it was. I couldn't put my finger on it, but I just sat down in the depths of January and I just poured my soul onto the pages of this journal about what I wanted to experience. And I bought this coaching course for a month, and it was literally a deep dive into what I wanted, basically, blank sheet of paper. And I said I wanted to go traveling again with a partner that I was going to settle down with because I'd already traveled once on my own. And then I wanted to start a business, a creative business. And I told my friend at work, didn't think anything of it. 3 months later, the universe delivered. So it was my first like manifestation that I had no idea that I was actually initiating, because as a manifestor in human design, I spoke it out loud and then it landed in my plate, which was just incredible. So I got set up on a blind date with someone who was just about to go traveling and who wanted to start his own business when he came back. He'd already had a business, it hadn't worked out. He fell back into corporate, and 12 years later, he was just like, I need to just clear my head, drive into the sunset, and then start another business when I come back. So 4 weeks before he was going, we got set up on a blind date. And then it went so well, I got on the back of his motorbike and we just literally drove into the sunset. So we traveled for
Wow.
like 7, 8 months. We're still together now. So this is like 12 years later. And we came up with the creative idea of having a fashion brand. So what I realize now is that the reason why the fashion was relevant is because there was something in me that was always trying to be expressed. And now I realize, being deeply spiritual and very much here for raising collective consciousness, I didn't resonate with the kind of the floaty boho type spiritual person. So there was this, at the time I hadn't even had my awakening. So it was more like, I just want to wear these, I want to be this really powerful, badass woman, like, strutting around the city, and, she's just in her power. So it was very much like leather jacket. It's all black and gold,
So it's more of the
leather
chic, the
jackets.
spiritual chic
Yeah,
archetype.
totally, totally. But it was before any of the spiritual stuff had happened. So it was just this
Right.
like badass woman on a mission. But I didn't realize it was a soul mission. So we did that for about, 5 years before I had my spiritual awakening. So that was at the beginning of 2020. So I was part of that cohort. And a friend of mine had trained in a modality called theta healing.
I
So I
know
don't know if
theta healing. I
you know.
do. I
Yeah.
actually did some
So,
training in it. Yeah.
okay. Yeah. So I didn't know what it was. And then around about the same time, I read Dr. Joe Dispenza's book, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. And he talks about the brainwave states and theta. And then I was like, oh, okay. So I then went to my friend and I said, can I try a session? I'm like really curious. We were talking before, I have a lot of Scorpio in my chart, Scorpio moon, but like 8 planets in either Scorpio or the 8th house. So I was like, I want to try this. And I had one session and then I was obsessed. And over the next 2 years, while we still had the fashion brand, I had 80 sessions. And every week I would watch the replay, and no one kind of tells you to do this. I'd watch the replay and I'd document the beliefs that we were clearing. And after 80 sessions, I had a spreadsheet, Virgo Sun, spreadsheet of 1,500 subconscious limiting beliefs that we'd cleared in those sessions. And at that point, my partner said, like, I think you're a bit more obsessed with this than the fashion brand. And I was like, I really am. So I then trained as a theta healer. And for the next few years, I carried on working on myself, and my spreadsheet got to nearly 4,000. And during that time, I realized that about a quarter of them, so about 1,000, were collectively held. So they are literally, and this is why the IT, when I was writing requirements, which is literally lines of computer code that I then give to the coders. So it was my code's written in English, but I give it to the coders and they do whatever they do with Java or whatever. I realized that I'd actually was documenting the codes that create this 3D matrix of fear, lack, and limitation. And I'd unturned every stone within my being, like over every aspect of my life. And I was like, okay, wow, like I could literally chunk these up under different themes, and I could create activations because as a 5-1 as well, 5-1 manifest, it's like I feel like I want to get this work out to the masses, like
Mm.
create these activations around these different themes, around the divine feminine, divine masculine, and get this work out there. As well as doing one-to-one work, it's a way of getting, like, it reaching so many
Mm.
people. So I did that for a bit, and I was creating those. And then I'd say most recently, I mean, everyone experienced, from who I've spoken to, 2025 was a bit of a portal for kind of just, okay, you've reached a certain level and now it's time to kind of up level. And I'd say about 8 weeks ago, over the I did I led a new earth activation over the Aries 7 planet alignment, and it was so powerful. And since then, I heard you talking about it on, I think it's your latest podcast, and that really resonates with me, that it's like we're being called into a massive up level. And you mentioned lots of people are feeling it as a pivot, but I feel like it's a real next level
Mm.
of our soul expression that's really wanting to come through. So yeah, I'm now a sovereign frequency architect, and I'm here to work with people who are halfway between, they're not who they used to be, but they haven't quite landed who they're here to be next. So I know that really resonates with you and your work.
Yeah,
So
that's
it's
why
that
I'm
void.
nodding. I'm nodding
Yeah, so
along.
it's that
Yeah.
void place, and it's like, I think when you have a lot of Scorpio, we're here to help people through that void and
Because
to
we
really
like to go into
anchor.
the underworld.
We do. We love it. And it's like to really anchor it into your body, like
Mm.
who you're here to be next. And also we get to choose that reality as well. So that's kind of been my journey of starting very much in the wounded masculine, and then finding creativity again with the fashion brand, and then having my awakening and realizing that really the fashion brand was because this version of me that wanted to be expressed, this badass woman on a mission, she's a queen, she's a sovereign queen,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
she's not here to flap around in floaty outfits. That's just not for her. That's not who I'm here to be. And that was trying to be expressed through me. So I still have some of the pieces of the fashion brand, but it's very much about inner work first, and then the outer expression is just, you radiate who
The
you are from the
byproduct.
inside out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love all of this. Like, there's so many places I could go with this. I've actually written down some notes because I was like, and just as a side, I was the floaty boho. I was the floaty boho living in Byron Bay. You probably visited Byron Bay
I
when
did.
you traveled out, right? Like, that was
Yeah.
me in my 20s as the floaty boho on my spiritual awakening journey. So, no shame
But
there.
there literally is, there's no shame, because it's just,
No.
it's not me, it's not my
Yeah.
soul.
And I
So
and I want to
it's
talk
no
about
shame.
that too. There's so many pieces I want to come back to. The void space I do want to come back to. We're going to circle back to that. I'm going to remind myself to get back to that because so many people, I mean, I think collectively we're all in this void space at
Yeah.
the moment, but so many
Mm.
women come to me in like, I feel like I'm not there. Like, I'm not that person anymore. I can see that, but
Yeah.
you said it perfectly. It's like haven't anchored that fully into being. So we will come back to that. What
Yeah.
I want to go to first of all is this soul architect and the work that you do now. I guess firstly, for those who are listening and don't know what this is, like what is sovereign frequency? And how would someone know? I mean, how would someone know when they are actually living from it, operating from it, rather than from their conditioning, their programming, distortion?
Yeah. So your sovereign frequency is your expression of your soul truth. So it's without any distortion in your field, any delay, all the conditioning, all your nodding, all the limiting beliefs, all the stuff that basically distorts our frequency. And our sovereign frequency, which is the purest, most purest, potent expression of our soul truth as a vibration, as a frequency out into the field, can just be fully expressed without it being distorted, so it's like you're trying to listen to a radio, and it's like crackling.
Yeah.
That's the distortion in the field. That's the what we inherited through our DNA. That's what, the world, who the world tells us to be, the limiting beliefs, the past lives, the collect stuff that's held at the collective level. All of that messes up our frequency. So that's what I call your sovereign frequency, is when it's your unique expression of your soul truth, and you get to be who you truly are, and you are self-governing, because nothing is messing with your frequency. So you're sovereign. Your
Mm.
frequency is completely sovereign, and you get to choose who you are. And I think what I'd say is, how does someone know if they're living in that? I would say it's a sense of deep peace and full expression.
Mm.
And I think peace is something that a lot of people really struggle to find, even when they've got a very successful business. Life on paper looks perfect. So many people report that they have like 6, 7, 8 figure businesses, but on the inside, they're like falling apart.
Yeah. Trying to
And
hold it all together as well. Yeah.
hold it all together, like with
Mm.
duct tape on the inside.
Yeah.
And then they wonder why they're not happy. And for me, maybe it's the manifestor in me. In alignment is peace, out of alignment is anger. Like, I feel, compared to who I used to be, I was a nightmare. I had my ego was called Gertie. She was a very big gorilla that got very grumpy at my partner very quickly, and that anger coming through. And now I can count on one hand in a year the times I get angry. So I feel that's why I think things like human design astrology can be quite helpful mirrors to
Yeah.
kind of help you kind of just be like, am I on track? Am I not? So for me, the moment I feel anger now, I'm like, what is this? It feels so alien to me. But before,
Yeah.
it used to be kind of my default. And he'd say to me, you're just angry. And I'm like, no, I'm not. And he's like, you are. And I'm like, well, okay, if I really think about it, I probably am a bit angry with the world in general. But I used to channel it at anyone who gave me a reason to be angry. Whereas now I'm at peace because I'm fully expressed.
Mm.
And I've when I get triggered, it's quite rare now. And the first thing I do is go inwards, because that's the radical
Yeah.
responsibility. Because,
Yeah.
we're never done, and we're always expanding. So you are going to always reach a new trigger. Like, the more you expand, the deeper the trigger you find. And then you've got to work on that. But I do think it becomes less and less. And you
Mm.
also, the more you discern who's right for you, and who's not aligned for you at the time, the more you can kind of navigate and continue in that peaceful space.
Yeah.
Maybe other types think of it more as like, successful for projector space, or I can't remember the generator one, but
I can't
yeah,
remember the
anyway.
general. Yeah, I think it's great because you get to understand who you're not, right? When you're being in your not self, or you're
Yeah,
being in your ego self. I love that you named your ego self, because I actually suggest this. You're right. Like, so many things that you say, like, we speak a very similar language. This is why I'm sitting here like nodding, going, yes,
yeah,
yes, yes, yes. And you're talking about, like, when we're fully expressed in our soul truth. I just saw this, because they always see images. I just saw this full sun, right? The full sun in all its
yeah,
glory and all its rays. The clouds come in, right? But the sun's not identifying with the clouds. It's just letting the
yeah,
clouds be, and they're gonna move. They're gonna move eventually,
yeah,
and clearing those layers of illusion, distortion that we have built our identity around, really, and thought
yeah,
that that's who we were. You thought maybe you were an angry person, and realized that that's actually
yeah,
not what it is. So I think when you name that alter ego, or that the limited self, when you can name it, you really get to know. I was listening to a podcast the other day, and someone was saying that theirs was like the Monica from Friends. And she would, like go into this cleaning frenzy when she was
yeah,
feeling triggered. And I think it's so great because it allows you to step out of that and look back in with curiosity and go, "Oh, that's interesting. I'm being Gertie, like Gertie's here,"
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Gertie's
yeah,
showing up. What's going on? And one of the things I was saying to my group yesterday in my Soul Power program, I was saying, we get to, and you were just sharing this as well, that when we are expanding, we're going to meet those growth edges. We're going to meet those triggers. It's going to be uncomfortable, but we know that that's part of the growth and that's part of the process. We can actually start to get excited by our triggers, get curious and go, okay, what is this showing me? I have an opportunity to meet this, see it, and move beyond it, right? Like
Yeah, I
all of
love
this
a
is here.
trigger. I
Yeah.
love a trigger for that reason because I
Well, the
know.
one line probably it's like, what's under
Yeah,
this?
I know. Yeah, I'm like, what is this? And I know the
Yeah.
expansion is on the other side of it as well. So
Yeah.
I genuinely love it now, which is, I don't know, maybe a bit of existential kink. But yeah, I'm just like, bring it on. And funny enough with the names, we've added a few recently. So Sassy Sarah sometimes turns up. So
Mm.
we were talking, my partner's got, he's really into astrology, and we have exactly the same Mars placement, pretty much within half a degree in Scorpio together. And it's really funny because we're always super chill with each other, but once in a while we'll get like, and I'll say to him, I need to check your transits. He's like, I need to check yours.
Yeah.
And then we pull them out, and it's like a moon square Mars situation. And we always look at each other and we're just like, honestly, you can't make this stuff up, because
Yeah.
we didn't know that was coming. You know, we were talking just before we hit record about astrology. You don't use it predictively,
Yeah.
but when we both feel that energy, it's always our Mars transit. And it's so funny. So he's like, oh, well, Sassy Sarah's here today. And I'm like, yeah, totally, she's here.
Bless these partners that can illuminate where there might just
Yes.
be a little bit of a kink in the hose, a little bit of
Yeah.
the dust.
Yeah.
I love that.
Totally.
It sounds very similar to me and my husband. I have to say, my husband loves astrology, and often when there's something going on, it's like, hang on, let me bring up. I think he has saved to his phone my chart, his chart, the kids' charts. And if something's going on, it's like, hang on, let me bring up your chart. What's going on? What's happening with the transits?
I
It's
mean,
really
I
cool.
think it's another way of, like you said, labeling something and being separate from it. Because for me as well,
Yeah.
when you see it and you know it's a transit, we always need to remember, when we're in the thick of things, having a Scorpio moon, I feel emotions deeply, that it can feel like the world's ending. But when you know it's a transit, you can go, oh, it's only here for 2 days. And
Yeah.
you're just like, okay. So it's another way of just kind of creating some distance so you don't get so lost in it.
Yeah. Or you don't get lost in the story as well, right? We get so good
Yeah.
at making up the stories. Well, this, or making meaning out of it. This means I
Yeah.
am this. Tell me,
Yeah.
what do you see as the biggest distortion that pulls people away from their soul truth?
So of all of the around about 1,000 collectively held subconscious limiting beliefs, I have a freebie, which is got the around about, I think, about 25 of the deepest subconscious limiting beliefs in it. And I wanted to make this free because it's the foundation. And the deepest one I found out of all of those is that we fear our creator power, divine power, whatever you want to call it. We
Mm.
fear our power, and we fear it because we're born with an ego, and our ego believes that it's separate. And if we are not separate and we are this creator of all that is, which is the truth, that's actually who we are, it's going to die. So it
Yeah.
basically, we fear our power. And
Yeah.
that is the deepest one of everything that I have found, still to this day. And I think remembering that we are souls having a human experience rather than humans who have woken up to spirituality,
Mm.
and just remembering that at our core we are creator of all that is, God, the universe, whatever you want to call it. And we can never separate ourselves from our power, so we may as well just learn how to use it in this lifetime, because that's what we're here to
Yeah.
do. We're here to
Yeah.
create, and we're here to remember who we truly are. And a lot of people talk about killing the ego, but I'm like, no, the ego is here to, it keeps us safe, and
Yeah.
it's here to um, serve us and walk with us so that we remain safe. But it's definitely not supposed to be in the driving seat. And I think
Mm.
that's where we get lost. That we just assume, because we're born with an ego and we don't know any better, that the ego is the one in the driving seat. But it really shouldn't be. So
Yeah. I
I
love
think it's
that.
about learning to move it aside and let
Yeah.
the soul power, you call it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Let the soul power lead,
Yeah.
and
And I
to
think
really
that's been the
remember.
problem, hey, is that it's just lost its place. It's forgotten.
Yeah.
Ego's, lost its place. It's become, it's edge got out, as we say. right? And
Yeah.
I love this idea. Like, I think I was listening once to Rupert Spira, who was talking about how the moth drawn to the flame. It's like the moth wants
Mm,
to go to the flame and it's going towards it and it's getting closer, but it doesn't quite go there, because to go there that far and that close into the light, it knows it has to die,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And that's the ego.
Totally.
So how did you then, because you spoke about your journey, when was that point of spiritual awakening for you, when you woke up to this remembrance that you are a soul having a human experience and that you have all of this capacity within you to create as source? When was
Mm,
that point for you? Was that a sudden one? Did you find it was like peeling back layers of that onion? And could you
yeah.
feel the way and sense the way? I mean, I love your story because we can zoom out and go, wow, what a beautiful divine orchestration, right? It's all
Mm,
here mapped out. Yes, you do that
mm,
first. And even when you feel like you might be wrong, making a wrong decision, I did the same thing, by the way. I was going to study naturopathy and I went for business to be practical.
yeah.
And we can see that. But it's like we eventually come back to it. Like it's kind of like you can't make a wrong decision. Your soul's going
No.
to bring you back to this. So, what was that moment for you when you knew, you realized that you were being led by something that was bigger than your mind, particularly coming from that mathematical corporate background?
Yeah. So I started having the theta healing sessions in about February, I think, of 2020. And a couple of months after that, I had my first dark night of the soul. And I didn't know what it was, but I couldn't stop crying for 2 weeks. And I didn't really know what oracle cards were or anything like that, but I found my way. My soul guided me to the Work Your Light deck, and the Rebecca
Yeah,
Campbell,
I love it.
which
It's a beautiful
I've got
deck.
so many decks, but that one still kind of is one of my core decks.
Me too.
And for the first time in my life, since meeting my partner, and we've been together, I think we'd been together about 6 years, and I'd never questioned our relationship, our business, or anything. Like, I was just so happy. And for those 2 weeks, I I just couldn't stop crying. And it was like I had to let go of my entire existence, my any attachment I had to our relationship, our business, remove all of that, and then energetically walk through this door. And without any kind of guarantee that the life that I'd created with him and our business was on the other side of it. And it was just something I
Yeah.
was doing on the inside.
Mm.
And I know that I was soul guided at the time, because the reason I bring up the deck is because out of 14 days, I kid you not, like 11 out of 14 days, I pulled the same freaking card, and it's the ever unfolding rose. And it was just this:
Mm.
you are being broke, you're
Yeah.
opening, you're opening, you're opening. And obviously, like, mathematically, you can't calculate those odds. So I think in that moment, I was just like, okay, something's clearly happening here. I just have to trust. And then towards the end of the 2 weeks, I metaphorically walked through this door, and everything I wanted was on the other side. So I still wanted to be with him. At the time, I still wanted to do the fashion brand. Obviously, over the next couple of years, I was going to get less interested. But at the time, I still wanted to carry on with it. And I'd had that big awakening moment, but it was so scary to walk through that door, because I was literally letting go of a massive part of me that was attached, which was my ego. That's attachment, isn't it?
Yeah.
Our ego is what's attached, and a big chunk of my ego had to die. And yeah, I walked through it. Everything was fine, and then I carried on the sessions. And I'd say a couple of years later, so after I'd trained, I then had like another moment where I was like, oh, hang on a minute. And I'd realized that I got caught in what I call healing hell. So healing hell is when your ego, you've had an awakening, and your ego realizes that actually, to stay alive, the best thing it can do, because you've woken up to the inner work. So, you can't, once you've woken up to it, you can't go back from it. So the ego's like, right, how do I stay alive now? And it's about keeping you in that healing loop of constantly
Yeah.
looking for the next thing, constantly, 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 which is why my spreadsheet carried on for a couple of years afterwards, after I trained. And now it's like, I probably find I don't know, in a month now, I might find somewhere between 0 and 5 beliefs now, because I've just kind of moved on from that. That first phase is doing the inner work and doing the excavation. And at some point, you can get stuck in that loop of healing hell, because your ego doesn't want you to go to the next level. And the next level is conscious creation. And what you've done in that first level is you've released all the conditioning that's kept your power just diluted, distracted, distorted. So you've released all of those layers. And now you've got a whole bunch of energy and power that you can actually use to create your reality. But your ego goes, oh, Jesus, I'm going to have to die again. So let's just
Yeah.
keep her in this healing loop, in this healing hell. So I then had that awakening. And then I was like, ah, okay. So the next step beyond that is to actually use this and like stop treading water and actually start creating my reality. And that's kind of was the next phase on, and I've kind of been in that phase, I'd say, for a couple of years now. So did that answer your question of?
Yeah, very much so. Very much
Yeah,
so. And I really love that. And I feel like a lot of people can relate to that. You know, some people I think spend a lot of their lifetime in that, maybe even all their lifetime in that. And
yeah,
I think it's a similar in this self-improvement hell, fixing hell, right? I
yeah,
need to do another course. I need to read another book. I need to
yeah.
listen to another podcast. I need to go and see another therapist. And I think we all go through this, you know, this journey on our spiritual awakening. I did,
Mm,
where I had a lot of different healers around me. I would be
yeah,
having regular kinesiology sessions, and I would be going to and believing. And it's a real subtle, can be big, but for me at the time, it was this subtle externalization of my power.
yeah,
And I got really schooled in that last year in a big way. It's like the universe was going, no more. And I relate with this here of like fearing our power, how
mm,
powerful we can be when we actually remember and reclaim that. And the other thing is not only what has to die, which is, you know, that ego identity, but what's going to leave, what's going to
yeah.
go, because it can't meet you in that energy and that frequency. Did you have that experience of things being excavated from your life that could not come with you?
So my biggest fear, and I've always known it, is fear of loss.
Yeah.
So for me, going through this spiritual journey, and it's specifically loss of loved ones. So, you know, my partner, family, friends, and some friends, yeah, they haven't come with me. So I think that is just, you know, I used to take it very personally. Like at school, I was always like, I think we all resonate if we've been on this journey, you know, you're the black sheep. I didn't have many friends at school. So friendships have always been a bit tricky for me. And so then, you know, when you find people and you can be magnetized to them at the beginning because the soul contract is for a specific time, you know, and it can be really powerful. But then the soul contract's finished. And I used to take
Yeah.
it so personally at the beginning. I used to get so upset about it. And now I just realize that it's expired and you can still love someone, but they don't have to be in your life.
Mm,
And you know that the soul contract is finished because things used to be effortless and easy, and all of a sudden, quite quickly, it's heavy and hard.
yeah.
And that's where you just have to go, okay, it's not right anymore. And I think it's about navigating the end of those friendships with grace, and hopefully the other person is at the same level of emotional maturity that it can all be done, you know, peacefully and with grace. And I love you, but, you know, we're not aligned for each other. So that's been really hard. And I'd say I'm very blessed in the fact that my partner is on this journey of evolution with me.
Yeah.
He's a couple of years behind. So in the beginning, when I'd had my awakening, and I was all about 5D. So I think from about 2022, I was like 5D, here we go. And he was like, I'm staying in 3D, and that used to
Yeah.
wind me the hell
Yeah,
up
you
because I'm like,
can't.
I was like, but like you don't understand what 3D is, because he was like, I don't want to go floating off somewhere. And I'm like, 5D isn't floating
Bless.
off. It's a physical world where, you know, it's all about peace, love, abundance, freedom, you know, all the things that you would want to live. But he likes to be a bit of a wind-up merchant anyway. But he was like, no, I'm staying here. And it really triggered me. Like it really
Mm,
triggered me. And then when I was doing my shadow work, and I'd sit down and it'd be under a full moon and I'd know I'd have to do some stuff was coming up for me. I used to get genuinely scared doing my own inner work because I was like, oh my God, what if I cut a cord with him, or like a,
Yeah.
clear a belief, and then all of a sudden we're not an
He's
energetic
gone.
match anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's gone, he's evaporated. So, and I had to coach myself through it to be like, look, if he's there on the other side, it's meant to be. And thankfully, I'd say he's been a couple of years behind, but he's now like totally with the program. He's talking about consciousness and plasma and crystals and astrology and stuff. So if it's
Mm,
meant to be, it's meant to be. But
mm,
yeah, fear of loss of loved ones has been huge. And I think when it comes to family as well, in the beginning, like I remember saying to my theta healer, I was like, am I going to float off somewhere? Because I didn't know. And she was like, no, no, no. So, I think everyone remembers that moment in their journey where you questioned that and someone probably reassured you. Um,
you're
but
like,
I remember
I've
thinking,
cleared so many limiting beliefs. There's nothing keeping me
yeah,
here.
I'm just
I'm
I'm just
untethered
consciousness.
now. Yeah.
And but I remember being genuinely afraid that I was going to speak a different language to my family, and there wouldn't be any connection anymore. Now I do speak a different language to my family, um, and half the time they don't understand me. But what I would say is I am much more connected heart-wise to them,
Mm,
much more open with my emotions, much more, I speak my truth with them now. Whereas before I was always very guarded. I'd speak their language, but um, it was from a closed heart, and
mm.
it was very much kind of protecting myself. And now I speak to them with a very open heart. I share everything I'm going through. They don't necessarily understand what it is, but I do my best. And I'd say, our relationship is so much better for that reason. So yeah, I've definitely been on a journey of overcoming fear of loss.
Yeah, and it's really anchoring into trust, isn't it? It's really
Yeah,
anchoring into trust and faith in a way that you probably never have before. You've never needed to
yeah,
before, like, and actually, and you mentioned something about, walking through that doorway and not knowing, not having the assurance of whether your partner would be on the other side, whether that relationship would still exist on the other side. And you could look at this with all sorts of relationships. And, we hold so much around this need to be accepted and belonging. And then we go on this journey and we realize that actually the most important person for me to belong to is myself, right? I can't belong to
yeah,
anybody else if I don't actually
yeah,
know how to belong to myself. So it's such a spiral inward. It's such a journey inward, and a trust that what's for you will never leave you. What is for you
yeah,
in this moment. And I had the same experience with a friend, in that feeling like the contract's done. And it was a very, very jolty, abrupt ending. But I was able to step back and go, wow, I can actually see the perfection in this, that can't come with me to this next level that's calling me
yeah,
here. And when we can step back and really look at that and see the way that it's playing out and the way that life is expressing itself through us, and knowing that in all of this we're okay, we've got this, I think it really helps. But we definitely need to experience those human emotions of grief and disappointment and all of that,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
part of this journey as well.
yeah. That is part of it.
Yeah. Let's talk about this void space and this gap that so many people find themselves in. Even this gap between knowing who they are, knowing what they know, and yet being able to live as that and execute that and embody that is a whole nother story. And
Mhm.
why do you think this gap exists? How can we look at, in your experience, what has worked for you in dissolving that gap and in embracing this void space that so many people are navigating at the moment?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is similar to what we've been saying, is about stepping back and remembering fundamentally that we are creator consciousness. We are all that is, and our identity, the character that we're playing is here to evolve continuously anyway. And it's always an expansion, and then there's a contraction, then there's an expansion, there's a contraction. So what I see the void is that you've expanded to the levels that you are supposed to in this kind of phase. It's a bit like doing breaststroke,
Mm,
isn't it? Like
mm.
you've expanded, and then there's that contraction moment where things have got to fall away before you can expand out again, because that's what the universe is doing. It's breathing, and that
Yeah.
void is like the in breath. And that's the scary bit, because you've got to let go to make space for the expansion, for what else is coming in. And that's the bit that is scary to the ego and to the identity that we've carefully crafted. But I think when we zoom out and we remember that we are creator consciousness, God, the universe, we are the one doing the breathing, then we can become more kind of pragmatic and less emotionally kind of attached to the human experience.
Mm.
Without bypassing. You've still got to feel all the feelings, but you can do it with a bit more kind of distance between who you really are and the human version of you experiencing it. So I think that's what the void is that moment just before big expansion. And that's why the ego freaks out so much, because it knows, first of all, it's got to let go. Second of
Mm.
all, it knows a big leap, the gay Hendrix, the big leap
Yeah.
is coming.
Yeah.
And and I think that's when it freaks out. And that's when, if you can really anchor into the bigger picture and to your soul, and that it knows the way, and trust, like you said, faith, surrender, everything that's meant to be for you on the other side of this expansion is going to still be there.
Mm.
So, and I know so much of us are going through it at this moment in time, because we're moving to, I think, not just on an identity level, but on a world level. So a lot of people talk about New Earth. I call it a new unified world, because I believe that if you unite all the aspects of you within, all those shadow selves within, unite that, then that's what's going to create the external world as a mirror of unification. And we're moving through that at the moment. Collective consciousness is rising so fast, and we're here to be the way showers and to help people navigate these voids, because a lot of people, whether they like it or not, are going to have to start doing this inner work if they haven't
Yeah.
started already.
Yeah.
And it's a ripple effect. I call it a herd remembrance. When one person remembers their soul truth, and when they vibrate that frequency, their sovereign frequency of the autonomy and complete expression of who they truly are into the field, that then means that other people can remember their soul truth.
Yeah.
And it's just this ripple effect. And I think that's what we're seeing, is more and more people waking up, coming online, transmitting and broadcasting their unique sovereign frequency out, is having that effect that's catalyzing the rise in consciousness. And I think it's a really exciting time to be alive. And who knows what the world's gonna look like in like 5 years' time, maybe 2 years. I don't
Yeah.
know.
And it's
It's a lot.
shifting rapidly. I'm just reminded of that Ram Dass quote of, we're all walking each other home, and
Yeah,
we're all in this. We're all part of this. We're all one
yeah,
consciousness. And the work that you do to clean up your house,
yeah,
and if you do that inner work, you're elevating the frequency of the whole collective consciousness, which is so beautiful. So,
absolutely.
and you mentioned that uniting all aspects of you within, which I really love that you have a similar approach to me. We're not trying to abolish anything, right? We're not trying to push that ego out. We're bringing it in. We're not trying to hide from the shadow, or we're not trying to abolish the shadow, but we can transmute that. So, do you want to speak a little bit more about that on practical terms, about how people can start to unite all aspects of themselves, and yeah, what work that they can do around that?
Yeah, and I think for me, a big part of it is activating divine masculine and divine feminine. And that's why, I've got some foundational core soul truth activations around those collectively held beliefs, because I think we really need to shift from the wounded feminine to the divine feminine, and the wounded masculine to the divine masculine. And doing those activations and then uniting the divine feminine, divine masculine within, that's that unification. So that's kind of one aspect of the energies. And then
Yeah.
the other aspect is, the like the family constellations type bit, where you've got sassy Sarah, you've got Gertie, your gorilla, you've got all the different versions of you that you've just shoved, you've rejected, you've abandoned them, you're ashamed of them, you've hidden them. And it's doing that inner work to bring them forward, and to essentially have a conversation with them. So on the inside, you can just invite, like I'm very visual. So, if you're not necessarily visual, you can do it on a feeling level or just a
Mm.
knowing level, but literally invite that part of you forward and have a conversation and find out, what is it that they're afraid of, you know, and also to thank them for all the work they've been doing to protect you. And then to say, okay, so this is kind of where we're going now. Are you on board? And literally ask them, are you on board? And they'll say, yes, of course I'm on board. They've only just been doing their best. Everyone is just
Yeah,
doing
they're
their
just
best at
playing
the
the
level of
role.
awareness and consciousness that
Mm.
they're at. So they thought they were still serving you. And it's just about informing them that there's a better way that they can work with you. So I would say that, and that just reminds me, I still have yet to do something with this. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it yet, but a couple of, maybe it was about a year ago, I went through in the middle of the night. All of a sudden, I had this call. I think I'd been reading about Greek mythology, and I was reading about
Mm.
Uranus and Kronos, Saturn, and how that was basically the beginning of the lineage of the patriarchy, because Kronos/Saturn overthrew his father, Uranus, and
Mm.
then he had kids, and then Zeus overthrew him. So it's basically the beginning of that like patriarchy. And I was like, okay, I'm going to have a conversation. So in my mind's eye, I sat down my Uranus and I sat down my Kronos and slash Saturn, and I basically facilitated a conversation between them. And there were tears. I documented the whole thing. It was just, there was a lot of stuff going on. And afterwards, I was just like, that just felt really huge. And
Mm.
never underestimate the impact that your work is doing in the
Yeah.
field.
Mm.
It's rippling out. So whatever you feel called to do, it is rippling out. And I just was like, I've still yet to decide what I'm going to do with that. But I remember that was another time when it was facilitating those internal conversations, is bringing that unity.
Mm.
And when we have that on the inside, then that's when the external world gets to mirror that.
I love that also because it really brings the power back into you as well. We spoke about, needing more healing or externalizing your power and go, and there's a purpose with all of that. But I feel like the calling right now is to come back in and do your own inner work and connect with yourself,
Yeah.
and it's free, it's available, and you have access to that. Like, just start communicating.
Yeah.
Have a felt sense of what's there. Bring someone forward. Bring your inner child forward. Have a cup of tea with them. Bring your protective part. It's very much parts work, but
Yeah.
you can do this, and it's so, so powerful. I mean, even just the power of our own voice, even just that declaration. And like you said at the
Yeah.
beginning, writing it down. And I was reminded then, it's like, be careful what you wish for. Be careful what you put out there. You might just get it, right?
Yeah.
And it's worth doing this. And there is power in your pen, there is power in your words, and there is power in your energy. So, what do you feel is the biggest call right now as we're moving into this unified world or this new earth paradigm? As soul leaders, 'cause I know you work a lot with leaders, like, what do you feel deep within you is this biggest calling at the moment for people to remember, to be activated in? Like, what do you feel that is?
I feel that it is just the deepest soul remembrance that you are creator of all that is. That to me is the only identity that's important, because from there it means that we're all connected. I am you, you are me. We're all one. So what you do and how you choose to move forward in your life from your sovereign frequency serves everybody. So there's that aspect of it, but the other aspect of it as well is that as the creator of all that is, you get to create your reality, whatever you want it to look like. And I think, and also knowing that you're going to create it and maybe you're going to live that for a year, and then you're going to be like, okay, now I want to experience something else. So it's about remembering that we are autonomous. It's about
Mm.
moving with true authenticity and soul truth expressed through sovereign frequency. And it's about remembering that we are here to experience our powers as creators and to be creative. So what you were talking about then, about it doesn't cost you anything and you don't need anyone to have a conversation on the inside. with any part of you. And I really invite people listening to be creative, literally make it up as you go along,
Yeah.
because that's like, we need to play more, we need to be more joyful, we need to be more like the kid you mentioned earlier about. I said something about soul truth expressed and you saw the sun. When you said that, it reminded me of the tarot card, the sun, where you've got this kid just on this horse and
Mm.
it's just naked and free. And it's like, I think we need to be more like that, and we need to release the kind of the stress and the, like, we need to get it right, the performance, the burnout, all the different things, the heaviness that we've been experiencing up until now. And we need to remember to play and make it
Mm.
up and
Mm.
see what happens, because anything is possible to create in this here now moment. And I think as well, we need to remember as well, like, we need to clear the distortion, we need to remember that we're creative, all that is, we're connected to everything, and we get to create anything. And it has to be done in the present moment, has to be done in the here now, because that's the only place our soul and our power exists. If we're thinking about the past or we're projecting into the future, that's ego.
Mm.
So
Mm.
we need to remember in every given moment that we're creative, all that is, we get to create what we want, and we do it here now, and we stay present with that. And then let's just see what happens. Who
Yeah,
knows what we're going to
beautiful.
co-create together.
Yeah, beautiful. And I love that you mentioned about the past, like who you've been, what you've done, the experience that you've had is actually no indication of what's possible for you, right?
Yes.
In this moment, you can rewrite the script. In this
Yeah.
moment, you can turn over the new page, you can get the blank canvas and you can start to create again. So
Yeah.
how do you co-create then? How do you co-create with the divine? How do you manifest? I don't even want to say
So
how, but you get what I'm
yeah.
asking.
I mean, there's so many different ways, but for about 9 months now, I go to, I live in the middle of London near Arsenal Stadium. It's very dense. There's not many kind of like parks and trees around here. But I go to this tree by the corner of the road. So people are walking past as I'm doing this. And for about half an hour, I've got my hands on this tree, and I'm anchoring into Mother Earth, but then I'm also activating my creator consciousness. I'm grounding my chosen next identity, and I'm also activating the new earth grids as well. So I'm doing all of this while people are walking past, like the kids going, "What's she doing, mummy?" And they're like, "No idea." But I'm just like, I'm here doing my thing, and I'm connecting to Mother Earth while I'm doing it. So for me, that's like my morning energetic practice, is to make sure that I do that. And the difference between when I walk up to that tree, and sometimes there's resistance, and I think, oh, can I be bothered to do this? And I'm just like, yes, because on the other side, I walk away and the expansion in my body is like all tension has been released. My hands are vibrating, which I think is just the energy from the tree, and I feel like I've got this like, you know, um, energy like in a ball in my hands, and I can just like, you know, create magic with it. And I think that's been really amazing for me to be doing that practice. And then another huge thing for me, again, manifester, you spoke about speaking out loud. So for me, I speak everything out loud
Yeah.
to myself.
Yeah.
I don't care. I'm constantly talking,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, because I think I'm informing the universe. So apparently I have a dense aura, which means that they can't hear me. So I'm like, well, I'm speaking it out loud then. So I'm
Yeah.
doing a lot of that.
Yeah.
Um, Dancing, moon journaling, activating water. So here I've got crystal activated water. So I'm putting activation into that every morning. Eating super healthy. My partner's actually into into food in a really big way. That's part of the business that he does, really clean food. So I think there's so many things, gratitude. There's so
Mm.
many things, but it's about being super intentional with your energy and the way you move through your day. And reading all of that stuff. I've kind of got a I love listening to podcasts, but I go through kind of phases where I consume a lot and then I just have to go in
Yeah.
and just come back to myself.
Yeah.
And the same with books. I'll kind of have a flurry and then I just won't read for ages. So I think again that's the the expansion and the contraction.
Yeah.
At some point you've just got to go inwards and get quiet. So there's just a few things that I do, but I think it's all
Mm.
just being super intentional about what you want to experience that day and speaking it into the universe,
Yeah.
and remembering that you're creating literally in this moment. And like you said, the past has absolutely no bearing on who you get to be right now.
Yeah, you get to choose that. You get to choose
Yeah,
that, and you get to choose again. So beautiful.
exactly.
I relate when you said about the tree. I have this run that I do in the national park, and I stop and I just put my hands on the tree. I have to kind of keep an eye open because there's like these bugs that crawl over, but it's beautiful. It's this beautiful mama tree and feet in the earth and hands on the tree and like and I speak out loud and I talk to the creator when I'm walking and all of these things. Like I'm beyond,
Mm.
caring if people think I'm wacky.
Oh
Actually, would
God,
take
yeah,
that as a compliment. One last thing I want to
absolutely.
speak to because this has been coming up a lot. I think so many women, I mean, women and men, but will say that they desire more abundance or impact or visibility and expansion. So we know that that's there, that desire is there, it's for us. And yet, when life begins inviting them into their next level, there's often the contraction that arises or the freeze, almost as if being fully seen in their true expression, like in their power, feels deeply unsafe. Why do you
Yeah.
think we fear being witnessed as who we truly are so much, and what helps us to create enough safety to stop shrinking and actually start living as that expression?
Yeah, so I think, yeah, the fear of visibility, it's I think everyone has it to some extent. And
Mm,
I think ultimately it's fear of rejection. Because when you are fully expressed, a lot of people don't like it. More people don't like it than do, because what you're showing them is where they're not fully expressed.
mm,
And they attack you for that, rather than them going, oh, she's showing me something that actually is within me that wants to be expressed.
yeah,
I'll do the inner work and express it. They attack you for it. So I think that is, and obviously it's the age-old witch wound.
yeah.
When we spoke our truth, we were out there, we got killed, we were persecuted, we lost everything. No doubt my fear of loss of loved ones is connected to all those lifetimes
Mm,
of
mm,
speaking truth and being persecuted for it. So I don't think it's something that we should just be like, get over it. I do think it is something that is deep within us, because we've lived so many lifetimes. There's been thousands and thousands of years of suppression, of not just women but men as well. I think the patriarchy is maybe, effed over men worse than women. So I think we all need to find safety in our bodies to express who we truly are. And yeah, when you say you want more, it's going to come with more visibility.
yeah,
And I think as well that it's people, there's the rejection side of it as well. But the more you express yourself as well, the more people want to necessarily, some maybe want to control you as well. Like the bigger your energy is. So there's
mm.
that aspect. So it's breaking through that as well. And maybe, again, that's a manifestor thing. One of our biggest fears is being controlled. So I think,
I think that's a lot
yeah,
of
I
people
think,
too, right? I think that's a
yeah,
lot of people. Yeah,
yeah.
I can
So,
relate to that.
and then I think also another one as well is fear of like having more responsibility, more visibility, more power.
Yeah,
I think it's also, how would I put this? Kind of fear that you're going to do something wrong with that power. I know that I've definitely had past lives, like when I had the was having those theta healing sessions, loads of stuff was coming up about where I'd misused my power. Like I'd like to think unknowingly kind of misused it, but at the same time, we've all been lower vibrational beings. So I'm
mm,
sure along the way, in past lives, parallel lives, whatever you want to call them, or trauma and pain that you've received from your ancestors, there's been misuse of power. So I think that's another reason why we fear that power. And obviously,
mm,
visibility comes power to influence people. You're like, oh, what if I'm going to become one of the bad people? So I
mm.
think we've also had to kind of move through all of that, like individually and collectively, because again, it's like the ego goes, well, rich people are all evil, so therefore you're like, oh, well, I don't want to be rich
Yeah,
because therefore I'm going to be an evil
yeah,
person.
yeah,
So I think there's so much to unpick around all of this stuff. And I think visibility is just a huge one, because
yeah.
with expansion and with responsibility, and if you are here to have a big impact in the world, you are going to have to be visible.
Mm.
And yeah,
And that
the more
comes
you,
back to your, the fear of your power, the fear of your
yeah,
power.
yeah,
And
the
I think
fear of,
it's,
mm, sorry, you were going to say,
no, 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 no. I think it's different depending on your unique situation, what's coming up for you, whether it is something that's there to hold you back because you're actually afraid of success. And so it's quite conveniently keeping you small, or whether
yeah,
it's tied into a past life. I mean, a lot of it is tied into past life or parallel lives, or, but also, there's the identity piece around that where you actually get to rewrite the code and
yeah,
decide that you're a someone who loves being visible, that it's safe to be visible, and
yeah,
installing that new software, installing those new
yeah,
codes, I think is really cool as well. So, and then,
yeah.
it's we're getting the tip of the iceberg in terms of what is possible for us and just how powerful we are. It's like we think we're this powerful, and it's like, and there is so much more, and we're not even scratching the
Yeah.
surface of that. And I think safety is a really big part of that, like that I'm safe to be in my power, that my family is safe, that people around me are safe. In fact, it's the safest place that I can be. It's the absolute
Oh,
safest place that I can be.
100%. It's the
Yeah.
safest place you can be. Like
Yeah.
following your soul is the safest thing you can do. It's
Yeah.
like I kind of an analogy. And I had a paid job I know you've only worked for yourself, but I had a paid job, and you're under the illusion that that's safety working
Yeah.
for someone else. Like that's the analogy. But actually, like you can be made redundant at any moment. The safest thing you can do is have your own business where you are fully autonomous and in control of your time and your energy. Like that's safety because you are fully creating your entire reality.
Mm.
Whereas, so I feel like that's kind of an analogy. I'm not saying that you're an ego if you work for someone else. I'm not saying that, but it is a way of just remembering that you always have the power and you get to choose. And following your soul is the safest thing you can do, and really anchoring in to your body that you are safe as a soul having this human
Mm.
incarnation, and whatever
Mm.
happens, you are going to be okay. Like, I
Mm.
think the simplest words are when someone says to you, it's all going to be okay. It's
Yeah.
all going to be
Yeah.
okay. And
Yeah.
like, why don't we say that to ourselves enough? It's
Yeah.
all going to be okay, because
It's
it
all going to be
always
okay.
is.
Yeah.
I mean, if
It
I think
actually
about,
always
yeah,
is.
like,
Yeah.
I'm 45. I've been okay for 45 years. Even
Mm.
though my ego's had so many freakouts, I'm okay. We're
Yeah.
always going to be okay.
Yeah.
And the moment that it's not okay, we're on the other side anyway.
Yeah.
So
When you
it's
pull
always going to
yourself
be
out of the
okay.
story, and that's coming back into that present moment as well, right? Like in
Yeah,
the present moment now, everything is okay. Keep coming back into the present moment. You're exactly where you're meant to be. And it can
yeah,
feel, and I know a lot of people are navigating really big stuff. We're going through big initiations. Been talking
yeah,
about like, you're pulling back the bow of the arrow, like or you're pulling back the arrow. It can feel really big, and that's why I feel like getting to know who you are as a soul on a soul level, getting to know truth is fundamental. Like there's no point in doing anything else, in looking at any other formula strategy, if you don't come back into that remembrance. And I think this is why we're so aligned with our work of who you are, of who you
yeah,
are in your truth. It's like
yeah,
that's your starting point. And something
yeah,
you said earlier, it's like it or not, like you can resist it as long as you want to resist it, like holding yourself together with that duct tape and having the shiny life on the outside and having all of the money in the bank account and having all of the things, and you're holding it together inside in this cage. You
mm,
can either choose and do it consciously, like you don't need to wait for that Mack truck to come in or that midlife crisis, like you don't
yeah,
need to wait for that. But if you resist it, the cracks are going to show. Like there's an
yeah,
inevitability around that. And that's not to scare you, that's to empower you, that you get to actually choose now that it's safe for you to come in and you're safe for you to do this inner work and remember who you
yeah.
are. Because then you
And
get
I
to have
think,
all of that and feel
yeah,
amazing.
exactly. All of
Yeah.
the all of that is a byproduct of you expressing your unique
Mm,
sovereign frequency. And like, how incredible is it that we live in this, like, in this incredible, I mean, it's beyond a world, just an experience where we're all one, but simultaneously we're all unique energetic expressions of soul truth. We're like spikes on this field of oneness. So all of our energy is completely unique. We've got unique gifts to share. Like, how exciting is that, that we're all one, but we're all completely different? And
Mm.
that to me is just, it blows my mind. But that's why we need everyone remembering and knowing their unique expression, their unique
Yeah.
frequency, because encoded in that are the gifts that the rest of us need, because we're all connected. And I see it
Yeah.
that we're all unique individual jigsaw piece puzzles, that when we come together, we make this beautiful puzzle.
Mm.
So we need each other. We need everyone in their unique sovereign frequency expressing their soul truth.
Yeah.
So yeah, the more of us that can do that and remember our gifts and be creative and have fun with it, the more everyone benefits.
Yeah. You're not serving anyone by holding back your light. You're not
No,
serving
no.
anyone.
Yeah, and hiding and not being visible,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
you speaking your truth. I probably said something on this podcast that I would have thought is a throwaway comment, and it's probably activated the hell out of someone, and I'm like, I don't know what I said.
Mm.
But this is like us having these conversations.
Mm.
It has a ripple effect.
Mm.
So the more of us that can, yeah, speak up. You never know how your words or your energy is going to land with someone, and that's the
Yeah.
exciting bit. You'll probably never
Yeah.
know, but I trust that it's
And you're
doing
not, and
something.
also you're not meant to know, like understanding that it's bigger than you. It's
Yeah,
so much bigger than you in this identity that we have here and the roles that we play. It's so much bigger,
yeah,
right? You have your own unique soul mission. And people that are thinking now, like, well, what is that? I need to try and find that. It's like, you're already it. It's already here.
yeah.
What makes you
Follow the
happy?
joy. Yeah.
Yeah, follow the
What makes you
joy.
happy? Follow the joy.
Right? Exactly. Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
What lights you up? What feels good? And when you were talking about that before, like I saw that as the new earth frequency. I see that as the
Mm.
new earth frequency. I see the feeling like we have to work hard and hustle and just stay in things that do not inspire us. All of that is the old paradigm. And we're
Mm.
we're shifting beyond that. And in this new earth paradigm or new unified world, and I love that. I love how you speak to that. It's like we're following the joy. We're in the play. We're in the expression of it, just purely to express, not for any other purpose,
Yeah.
but to be in the expression of that because that's our nature and that's who we are. You
Yeah.
know,
And then everything else, the abundance, the money, all of that stuff is a byproduct of it anyway.
it's a
We'll
byproduct
be
and it
way
comes
more
when we
richer.
stop needing it because we realize that we already are it.
Yeah. Well, we are wealth. We are
Yeah.
literally the frequency of wealth when we're expressing our soul truth. And money is just one aspect of wealth, but wealth
Mm,
actually comes from the word well-being.
mm,
So it's literally, it's just, yeah, it's pure expression and just doing it for the joy of it.
yeah.
So yeah.
Beautiful. So good. What a beautiful place to finish. Lisa, let us know how people can reach out to you. I will pop the links to the activation that you suggested that people could download. So I'll pop that in the show notes. What's the best way if people want to directly reach out to you?
So my website is houseofsoulsovereignty.com. Instagram, House of Soul Sovereignty. So that's the best place. But I have a podcast, I have a Substack, I have a free soul letter. So that's the way to kind of like stay in my world, and the way to work with me one-to-one or do the soul truth activations, which are self-paced, instant access. They're all on the website. So that's like the hub.
Yeah, beautiful. Great. I'll check that out myself. Amazing. Thank you so much for being here. I've loved this conversation. I feel like you're like a version of me in England.
Yeah, yeah,
which,
totally.
which you are,
Honestly,
right?
yeah, honestly, I knew we were going to have such an aligned conversation, because yeah, we're speaking the same soul truth.
We're singing a similar tune. Yeah,
Yeah.
awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.